We have a chat. Holy shit. Unbelievable. Only 12 goddamn tries and watching 6 tutorials. Holy Christ. Look at that. It's a little hard to read, but I'm not complaining. After that Mongolian clusterfuck last night, Jesus. Look at that. It worked. It actually works. I wish I could get the print a little larger, but I'm not going to complain. I'll squint. Unbelievable. I finally got OBS to work like regular streaming software. And except for this difficulty, trying to get a chat, this software is easier to use than Prism and way easier than OneStream. OneStream, oh God, what you got to go through to even start. Amazing. Amazing. Now, I have no idea how long we can go. Look at this, the Ronbo's here. I have no idea. It doesn't, matter of fact, it didn't say anything about time limit, so we'll see what happens. We should say, we're ready for OBS. Broadcasting live from beautiful downtown Cleveland, it's station WDWL, starring the Grumpy Old Man, and we are brought to you by Grumpy Vulture Productions. No bow. Unbelievable, this actually is working. And it only took 12 tries and 6 tutorials. I'll tell you what, actually, the last tutorial that I watched actually explained what I had to do to get a chat. The other 5, even though they're saying in the title of the video, for beginners, you got to be a rocket scientist. Finally, the last guy really made the video for a beginner and showed me where I was making my mistake. Because, first of all, it kept reverting to my first YouTube channel, which I've never used. And what was happening was I was clicking up on the edit, and it said bring up YouTube dashboard. I would bring up the YouTube dashboard and then click start broadcast, even though I had switched to this YouTube channel, it kept reverting back. Well, in the tutorial, you don't bring up the YouTube dashboard. All I have to do is go into what's it's called docs, like a boat dock, and click on YouTube chat. And then a blue box comes up. And today, the blue box came up and explained once the first person signs in, the chat will appear. Last night, all the blue box said was YouTube. So I left the number 6 guy a very nice, thankful comment because he explained OBS for beginners. But now that I have everything set up, it's click and go. This is actually easier to use than Prism. And it gives you thumbnail pictures, which I downloaded about a dozen vulture pictures, so every night there'll be a different vulture picture in the thumbnail. But, last night I was banging my head on the monitor. When I got to the point, I shut OBS off completely. And I brought up one stream, and one stream would not allow me to do a live. The only thing it would allow me to do is a recorded session. Well, that don't do me any good. Yeah, I'm back in business, Kathy. Because I'll tell you what, I opened the software, and all I had to do was my normal new heading. They call it in here broadcast theme. So all I did was go in, change the date, add a little bit, and then come 7 o'clock, start broadcast. It kind of scared me for a few minutes because the blue box turned into a black box and there was nothing in it. And I was like, oh, here we go. And then Kathy popped in and I almost fell out of the chair. Oh, wait until you see. I think 10. I found a website that had, oh Christ, it must have been 200 vulture pictures. Of course, they got them, picking a carcass apart in the middle of Africa. So I tried to get the neatest looking vultures. Like tonight, I have that pair that are like deer in the headlights. Oh, man. I'll tell you what. I was, last night, by 9 o'clock, I was literally ready to give up streaming. I really was. I was like, I can't take this shit anymore. And really, I have TB2 to thank for suggesting OBS, saying, oh, I use it all the time. The only problem is I emailed them twice and I didn't get a response. Although, hey, I could be working, But, the other night when he said, oh, try OBS. And it's free. There's no purchase agreement, although I don't know, it doesn't say anything about time. So we'll see after the first hour. But oh man, I'll tell you what, watching those tutorials, if I ever get adept enough, this software does everything except edit. You can't edit it. What you get is what you get. I can't save this and go in and edit it and like everybody does and then put it up. But I have to figure out, I mean, I can bring on guests. That's the advanced stage. Right now, it appears I have the aspect ratio set right. I have the audio ratio set right. The only problem is this is the test. The only way I could have run a test earlier in the day would have been to contact either Kathy or Ron and say, hey, I'm going to go on in 5 minutes, see if the chat works. I decided tonight, go for broke. And it's working. I wish I could get the camera adjusted a little better, but I'm not going to screw with it. I would like the camera to go out a little more, but I leave well enough alone. See, this camera comes with a remote, and I can bring myself this close to the camera. I can take myself out. The only problem is when I take myself out, it shows the poles and everything on the side of the background and the lights on the top, and I was like, nope, bring it back in. Oh, Kathy, I was in tears at 2:30 this afternoon. I had a taste for the last couple of days for our favorite, Lawson's Chip Dip. So I called Circle K and I said, you have any chip dip? And they said, nope, we're out. But the truck will be here between 1:45 and 2:15. Okay. Oh. God, I've been lighting it every night. I forgot, Ron. Good thing you reminded me.
But out of that, a new holiday was born. A Festivus for the rest of us.
Now, there we go. The Festivus pole is lit. Quiet. Tablet. So, are you ready for this, Kathy? She said between 1:45 and 2:15. So, I said, well, maybe he'll be a little early, and I'll show up at 2:30, and that's basically giving him enough time to check the order in. So I go in, And I walk back to the cooler, and it's empty. Now they have a special cooler for the dip. Empty. So I walk up to the front counter and I said, didn't your delivery show up for your Lawson chip dip? She said, yeah, he was here at 5 minutes to 2. I said, oh, you haven't got the order checked in right yet? She said, oh, it checked in and gone already. I said, what? A woman came in and bought the whole delivery, $510.87. She bought the whole frickin' delivery. I said, she could do that? Hey, you could do it. I said, the whole delivery? What, does she have a store somewhere? No. She's going to give them as Christmas gifts. The whole fucking delivery. $510.87. Bought the whole shitload. The guy took it off the truck, brought it in, they checked it in, rang it out, and her and her husband loaded it into their SUV. Now I have to wait until next week. And she said, with this being holiday season, she says it's gone in a couple hours. I said, well, could I reserve 2 big ones? She went, no. You just have to be here. I knew the chip dip was popular, but Jesus Christ, she bought the whole freaking order. Everything. The woman said it's the fastest an order has ever come in and gone out. They didn't even unwrap it. They counted it, rang it up, and out it went. Well, gee, Ron, I didn't think somebody would buy the whole order. I expected maybe to go in and get 2 little, or maybe 1 little carton. The whole order. In and out. Didn't even unwrap it. It was all sealed in the plastic. She bought every fucking carton. Giving it as Christmas presents. I wish I was on her Christmas list. Matter of fact, the manager said, this is a first. She said, we've had people come in and buy, 10, 12, 15 cartons. She said, never our whole order. And the whole thing is, they only get 1 order a week. It's not like she can call and say, we need another pallet. Nope. Next week. Next week, I will be there at 1 o'clock, sitting in the car waiting. I don't care if there's a blizzard. I will be waiting. And as soon as I see the delivery truck pull in, I'm going to go in and I'm going to say, ring me up 2 big ones right now before they even come off the truck. That way, if somebody comes in to buy the whole order, I got 2 of them reserved. Ron, this woman, I've never heard of giving chip dip for Christmas presents. Evidently, the only thing I can figure is she must own maybe a company. And everybody in the frickin' company loves Lawson's chip dip. So if you're, you've got the least seniority, you get an 8-ounce container. Then the next group of seniority, they get the 16-ounce. And then if you're really high in seniority, you get the 32-ounce. As a matter of fact, a woman come in behind me, and she walked in the back. She came up front. She goes, "Didn't you get your chip dip order? I didn't get any last time." I turned around to her. I said, "You ain't getting any this time either." Yeah. Yeah, they work at a potato chip factory, so everybody gets a dip for Christmas. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. The whole order, $510.87. Yeah, the guy brought it in. They counted them. And then immediately after she signed the order, the bill of lading, okay, delivery, she went to the cash register, rang it up. The woman paid for it, and out the door it went. I was like, unfucking believable. I've never, matter of fact, nobody, even the manager went, "I've never had this happen." But she said, during the holidays, you would think that this stuff is, a life-saving medication. Everybody comes in and she says nobody buys just one. It's usually 5, 8, 10. I seriously think I'm going to buy at least 4 of the 32 ounces. Be a fight in the parking lot. Call the police. "I've been robbed." "Oh, what did they get, sir?" 4 32-ounce cartons of chip dip. Ow! You didn't have to tase me. This stuff is like 20, 25 pennies. You can't get any of them either. Damn it. Although I did get an amazing text message this morning. On the 18th, I will legally own a 2001 Volkswagen Passat. He's getting this administrator's letter from the court first thing in the morning. Then he is driving from Wadsworth to Cleveland to hand carry that title, and then we'll go to a notary, and then it'll be mine. Well, almost. Then I will go to the license bureau, get a temporary tag, Then, after I get the temporary tag, I will transfer the title and then order my legal license plate. It's about time. Although, like his son was telling me, it didn't help that he had 8 bank accounts, 2 houses, and 7 cars, and 2 motorcycles. I knew about the cars. I didn't know he had 2 fucking Harleys. Matter of fact, I told Bill, I said, I could be interested in one of them. He says, forget it. He said, one is mine, and the other one I've already sold. Although he did say he really wants to get rid of the cars in a hurry. So on the 18th, I'm going to make my final offer on the Corvette. And I'm going to tell him, if you say yes, give me the keys, and it'll be out of that driveway at the other house pronto. And then it'll be in my driveway. I guess from what he's telling me, his buddy down in Wadsworth gave up on the Corvette. Because I guess his buddy thought it was, a running driver. And he finally told him, well, no, it's been sitting for 6 years. His buddy was like, although I'm taking a real chance with this thing. Although, like I told him, I'm gonna buy a brand new battery, and we're going to attempt to get it to start. If it fires, done deal. If it even cranks and sounds like it's going to hit, done deal. And like I told them, I'll pay for it. You give me the key, unlock that gate at the other house, and it will be gone the same day. It'll be in my driveway. And then it'll just sit there till spring when I can tinker with it. And save up money because I'm anticipating, well, it's going to need 4 tires. I mean, hopefully the tires will hold air to get it home. That'll give me time to search out 4 used tires because I ain't putting new tires on it. Goddamn tires are $560 a piece. Ugh. So that way I can go up to my tire shop on the corner and say, hey, I need 4 this size, and do it that way. I ain't putting brand new, no way. For a vehicle that basically is going to be a grocery getter, maybe drive to the doctor. I ain't planning on driving out to Nevada with it. Sorry, Ron. Or Arizona. Or Idaho. Montana. Ain't happening. I wouldn't trust that thing leaving the neighborhood. There's got to be, although Jim was a weird bird, weirder than this asshole. I mean, like the Passat, at least I saw him drive it until it developed problems and he parked it. But, like the Porsche, the 87 Porsche 924 or something, that car hadn't run in like 12 years. The kid that bought it, now he's lucky. The engine did turn over. He put a big breaker bar and a socket on it, and the engine turned over with not much of a problem. It did have good antifreeze in it, so they don't anticipate a cracked block or anything. But that car's sad. Although the kid is going to restore it. I'd like to see it when it's done. Over at the other house, we already know that the Chevy Nova's broke in half, which, like the old Mustangs, did that. And what year? The early Dodge Chargers did that too. They broke in half right at the firewall. There's I can't get back to see what else. There's supposed to be a Dodge Dakota pickup in the yard. His son said there's like 2 other cars there besides the poor Nova. I guess once he unlocks the gate, I can wander around and see what interests me. Although I'm really interested in the vet. I really am interested in that. As a play toy. Because I'm not going to restore it. The paint is deplorable on it. Who knows what other problems it's got. Although, if it looks like it's going to be too much money, I'll be doing a quick flip. I could be, depending on the condition, I could be mildly interested in the Dodge Dakota. I always liked them when they came out because they were a little bigger than the Ford Ranger. Although I hate Chrysler products. Oh, I despise Chrysler products. And if it's an automatic, that's a turn-off for me. I like my manual transmissions. Although so did Jim, so there's a good possibility that the Dakota is a manual. Although I'll tell you what, anybody that I knew that owned the Dodge Dakota, they were all automatics. I know they made them in manuals. I just never seen one. I think mainly because if you wanted a manual, you had to order it. I think that's the way they sold the Dakotas. If you want a manual transmission, you have to order it. Because they didn't build a shitload of them for stock. So I lucked out with OBS. I was on a high, and then I went into Circle K and I was on a low. The mood went from here to here. $510.87. And boy, I had just a little over half a tank of gas in the Passat. So I decided I'm going to try Marathon. So I went in and I said to the guy, I says, give me $20 worth. I pumping the gas. The nozzle shuts off at 1901. I was like, oh, come on. I'm burping. I finally get the $20 in the tank. When I pulled the nozzle out, the gas was right up at the top of the neck. I'm rocking the car, figuring there's an air pocket in the tank. Nope. I gently put the cap on. I was like, whoa, first time that ever happened. Although I clocked the mileage, it's getting 13.2 miles to the gallon, which to me sucks. Although I'm potzing around the neighborhood, but I would think I would get a little better than 13 miles to the gallon. Christ. Goddamn big-ass Lincoln Navigator gets better than that. Although I remember back in the day, with our muscle cars of the 70s, if you tromped on the accelerator, you could literally watch the gas gauge start to drop. That's what I say, Kathy. Look at the size of your truck and the size of my Passat. I'm getting 13 miles to the gallon. Although it's probably got shitty spark plugs in it. I should change the plugs. And by now the crappy gas is out of the tank. So what I have to do, although see, until I legally own it, I haven't been on the freeway with it. I would like to get it on the freeway and get it up into fifth gear and do some cruising. But I think I should put a new set of plugs in it. Although it fires on, God, the engine don't turn 2 revolutions and it starts. Sometimes don't mess with it, If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Once I really start driving it, then we'll see. I really shouldn't complain. The gas mileage could be worse. Because you gotta figure it had half a tank of 6-year-old gasoline in it, which probably was like 20 octane. So I filled it with 93, and then when it got down to 3/4 of a tank, I put some more 93 in it. And then now, it was down half a tank. So I'm not going to keep putting 93 octane in there. That gas is expensive. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I said to the guy, I said, this used to be a Shell station. He said, yeah, Shell didn't renew the guy's lease. So I says, well, how is it you ended up as a Marathon station? He said, I got a better deal on wholesale gas from Marathon than I did from Shell. I said, okay, works for me. So I'll see what kind of mileage I get out of this Marathon. Although, like even the petroleum industry said, Shell is the best gas. If you read anything from the petroleum industry, Shell is rated number one. I don't know, maybe next time I get to half a tank, I'll fill it with Shell. I don't know. Although I ain't doing 93 octane anymore. No. Although, the title really comes in at the perfect time. Because the temp tags are 45 days. So that will take me probably into the first week of February. That way, I don't have to rush to order the license plate. I can drive around for a bit because it's still available. I checked today. Now watch. When I go to order it, plate taken. I just think it'll look cool. The only thing is it won't have this. There won't be any logo on it. It'll just be full, straight across the plate, WDWL TV. But I think it'll look neat. Although people will walk by and go, on a Volkswagen Passat, and it's not even a new one? Although, I'll tell you what, and the adage is true, you don't really notice a certain vehicle until you own one. Because I am seeing fucking Volkswagens everywhere. I hadn't realized there were that many Volkswagens in the neighborhood. It's amazing how many Volkswagens are in this area. As a matter of fact, yesterday when I went up to Mark's, there were three of us in a row. There was me, the Passat, there was a Jetta next to me, and then there was an Atlas SUV. I was like 3 Volkswagens in a row. I didn't know there were that many in Ohio. And then driving up, I got bad news today, Kathy. Oh, was bad news on top of bad news. I went up to take Ryan his Christmas present. I got a Christmas gift for him and his father. I couldn't think of what the hell to get for his father, so I got him 12 pair of work gloves, but they're good ones. I actually spent a few bucks. And I got Ryan that custom, I should have showed everybody. It looks like a big crystal knob for a shifter. And as soon as you touch it, it lights up and it goes through a multitude of colors. And it illuminates the shift pattern. So you'll have red, green, blue, orange. And then it shuts off until you touch it again. Well, I saw Ryan playing with mine, so I got him one. So I go in the station, and I see Dad. He was talking with a customer. He waved, he can give me. I said, "Where's Junior?" "Oh, hospital." "Hospital? What the hell happened?" A customer pulled in, and like they do, they walk out to greet the customer. Ryan walked out, caught a patch of ice, and blew the ligaments out of his knee. He just had arthroscopic surgery. He's still in the hospital. And then his father said it'll be about a month before he can come in and help out in the shop. I was like, holy shit. Yeah, he caught a patch of ice just right and blew the ligaments right out of his knee. Because I even asked his father, I said, he'll only be down a month? He said, well, he can't be doing anything strenuous. And he said basically he's going to buy him a rolling chair so that, like, when they got a car on the lift, he can sit on this roll, not the little shorty, like a full-size chair that would be at a desk on rollers. And that way he could do breaks and do because poor kid said it's killing him being laid up. Because, I said to his father, I said, gee, these football players, they blow out a knee or, they tear their rotator cuffs and they're out for the whole season. Yeah, Dad said, well, yeah. He said he's not playing football, he's working on cars. So I asked Dad, I said, when can you do the front brakes on the Passat? I said, all you got to do is drop in new pads. No turning rotors, none of this. I said, my rotors are nice and clean. But I said, Ryan said, well, God, you got over 50% lining left on the front brakes. I said, yeah, but now they're starting to squeal. And basically, a lot of that is from the line, the brakes sat for 4 years. And now the linings are hard. So I said, I've got the pads. I said, all you got to do is, pop the caliper up, bing, bing, pull the old ones out, bing, bing, drop the new ones in, plug in the frickin' sensor wire, and done. He said, bring it in next week. I says, okay. How much? He said, free. I said, really? You a good customer. I'll take care of you. Works for me. That way, I got the new ones on the back because they were really down. But the front ones looked really decent. The only problem is one of the sensors must be bad because I keep getting the goddamn. I have this little screen, and well, as soon as you turn the ignition on, fasten seatbelt, yeah, okay, I always do anyway. And then it's check brake pad, check front brake pads, check front brake pads, check front. Oh, all right. I check them. I say, yep, they're there. I was like, man, talk about right at the holidays too. I really feel sorry for the kid. But his father said he hardly fell. It would, it wasn't like he went crashing down. He just kind of turned his knee and he grabbed the side of the car and slid down. Then he couldn't stand. His father was like, what do you mean you can't stand? He goes like, don't work. So he called Mom. Mom took him up to the ER. They called down an orthopedic surgeon, and the orthopedic surgeon said, that's got to be fixed right now. He was like, what do you mean? He goes, right now. He said, you tore all the ligaments in your knee. The only, the sad thing is, now, even though, modern medicine's amazing, he's always going to have a bad knee. To tear your knee at age 22, he's always going to have a fucked up knee now. Yeah, Kathy, talking with with Todd, my pain management doctor, he said sometimes that's the worst thing you can do. Try to break your fall. He said sometimes it's best to just fucking fall. I was like, yeah, but at my age, I break a hip. He said like in Ryan's case, he tried to catch himself and the knee went evidently sideways. That's why, like in this shitty goddamn weather, I make sure I have my cane with me just for a little extra stability. And I'm to the point, if I'm like walking across the parking lot to go into the store, I'm not speeding up because you're impatient. Because that's when you do something stupid like trip and fall. I shuffle along, and if you don't fucking like it, too bad. I'm not going to risk a fall at this age. I have too many friends that either them or their wives have broken hips. I got like 6 friends that got artificial hips. And the last one, it was stupid. My buddy sat on the edge of the bed, and the comforter was, I don't know what material, but it was like slick. He sat on the edge of the bed, slipped off, and fell on his ass and broke his goddamn hip. He said it wasn't like I fell from a great distance. He said I fell like 2 feet, but it was the way he landed. Once you become a senior citizen, the orthopedic surgeons are like, okay, yeah, we're going to make money now. But, no matter how they repair that knee and how much therapy he goes through, it's always going to be a weak point. I know I've watched arthroscopic surgery, and what they can do is amazing, but it's always going to be a weak point now. And to be 22 years old and blow out your knee, and being in a repair garage, you're on your feet all day. It's not like, you sit down at a computer. If you're not moving, you're not making money. Although, like I joke with Dad, I said, this is your payback for going on a 2-week vacation. He goes, yeah, I go for 2 weeks. He's down for a month. Although he had time to bullshit. He showed me their new oil burner heater. They just got a brand new one because the other one was giving them fits. It burns waste oil. And boy, did that new one cook. I was standing underneath going, Jesus Christ, I'm roasting. And the interesting thing is, the pipe's going to be like maybe, I'll say 4 inches in diameter. They come out of the oil burner into a big Y pipe. And then over the middle of the service bay, this pipe goes all the way and then exits outside the building. it's amazing the heat that's generated out of two round metal pipes. They look like they're stainless steel, maybe. And they're hanging from the ceiling. And, like I say, they exit out the front of the building. And it was surprising how warm that shop was. And he says the neat thing is it don't cost them nothing to run. Every time they do an oil change, in the tank. He said, I don't have to pay for heat, really. Well, I had to buy the furnace, but he said, free fuel. Every time we do an oil change, it's in the tank. And they got a sign in the window, we'll take your waste oil for cheapies like me that do their own oil change. Although I had Ryan change mine the last time. While the car was in the shop, I said, here's the oil, here's a filter, change it. But the more I drive that car, first of all, the better it runs. And the second of all, the more I want to drive it more. I can't wait till I'm legal. Have that temp tag in the back. I can go for a long ride. Although, it figures, winter. I ain't going to be doing no fast driving on the freeway. Although I like that automatic traction control. Man, that is unbelievable. Soon as a wheel starts to slip, it applies the brake. And it slows that wheel down till it grabs. And then off you go. Oh, I didn't show anybody of the fancy stuff that I bought for it. I'll have to take a picture of the steering wheel. I got these neat carbon fiber pieces in emerald green, and they snap on the steering wheel, and they make it look like a fancy designer steering wheel until spring, when I'm going to buy that really fancy steering wheel. I didn't take a chance on ordering it until I owned the car. Because I went on eBay and I messaged the guy and I said, you're not going to run out of stock on these, are you? He said, no, they're one of our most popular steering wheels. I said, good. Because I'm going to put that fancy wheel on that car. That'll look classy. Wood grain. Nothing like dolling up a 25-year-old car. Although it don't look it. People are amazed when I tell them, well, shit, the goddamn thing's an '01. Really? Although if you take a look at an '01 Passat and you take a look at a 2025, there really isn't a big difference. They did kind of restyle the back. It's got different taillights. They did a little fancy front end. But basically, They look like the same car. Well, I broke down today and I went up to Staples and bought a fucking calendar. I hate buying calendars. But it's a decent wall calendar. I think it's 17 by 24 because I need big blocks to write shit in. Matter of fact, the cashier had to be in her late 60s. And I says to her, I says, I hate buying calendars. She goes, yeah, back in the day you were throwing them away. You got so goddamn many. I said, yeah, everywhere you went. You get a calendar, here you go. No matter where you went, hardware store, mom and pop bakery, drugstore, supermarket. Everybody get a calendar. And the funeral home sent the neat ones. They had a little fold out and they sat on your desk. They were about that big. But they flipped open and they had a phone book inside to write your phone numbers in. Every funeral home sent them out. Oh, I see, I don't have the timer anymore. I miss the timer. When we had the clock. Yeah, we're still going. Evidently, it must be unlimited. It didn't. I'll tell you what. I read through all the information, and it didn't say anything about a time limit. Because, yeah, I know, Ron, you took pictures of it and you rubbed it in my face. Look what I got. I got a calendar. Yeah, Ron's pharmacy gave him a nice wall calendar. God damn. Like the old days. I couldn't believe it when Ron went, look what my pharmacy, look at this, look. Here's 27 photographs. No, not really. He only sent me 2. But beautiful calendar. It was nice of them to give it away free. Well, in the long run, you're paying for it, Ron. You're buying your medication and your stuff there, and they get their money back for that calendar. I just hate buying one. God, it's sad how cheap businesses have gotten. Now, I know they're expensive. But you would think to show a little customer appreciation, have a calendar. Because they know nobody's giving them away. Kathy, when I used to subscribe to the Farmer's Almanac, I got a really nice calendar every year. Because I used to get because I swear by it. Of course, now, you can read it online. But every year, I used to get the new Farmer's Almanac. And, like, with the November issue, you got a calendar. And it was a nice wall calendar like the one Ron got. But I stopped subscribing, and there went my calendar. Of course, the price tripled. Yeah, I went through and I read everything on the OBS website, which OBS stands for Open Broadcast Software. And it didn't say anything about a time limit. Now, had I stayed with one stream, it would have been $15 a month to upgrade. And that only gave you 2 hours. I wasn't going to spend $15 a month to get limited to 2 hours. Not that but we have gone 2.5, But I hate to be looking at the clock going, oh shit, we're coming like the last show with OBS or with one stream. All of a sudden it just cut off. But this free, and the amazing thing is all the perks you get with it. I mean, the more I use it, the more I'll get accustomed to it. But I can split screen, I can put up a video, I can have 2 cameras running at once. Like if I had, say I had a guest live in the studio. I have a camera on me, I could have a camera on the guest, and I could switch back and forth between cameras. All those kind of perks are extra. Even like with StreamYard, Streamlab, OneStream, Restream. This free. With premium features. Although, if you look at the sponsors, OBS is getting a sponsor money from YouTube, Facebook, NVIDIA, the makers of graphics cards. There was a whole shitload of them. So when you got companies like that pumping money into software, they can offer it for free. Because basically they want as many copies used daily as possible. Like when they make a change, they'll do an update and it benefits the user. And the more it benefits the user, the more people are going to go, oh, quit using that goddamn. Why are you paying for Restream? You can get OBS for free. And like I say, the ease of use was, it's like a 5-year-old kid could set this up. It's very easy. The only confusing thing was the chat. Because I read things wrong. It said, open YouTube Studio. For some unknown reason, it would open under my original YouTube channel, which has 0 subscribers because I've never used it. There's nothing on it. When I opened that, I was originally going to use it for this. Well, then it said, up in the corner, it said, add a channel. Add a channel? Whoa. So I added this. And I never used the new software, the new YouTube, the first YouTube again. I was going to delete it. Good thing I read the fine print. Because if I would have deleted the original channel, it would also delete all of my subscribers on this channel and all my videos. It wipes the slate clean. I was like, holy shit, nope. Exit out of that page. So then I decided to watch tutorials. The first 5, you had to be a fucking rocket scientist. The last one, the guy stepped through one simple step at a time and explained it in plain, ordinary English for a dummy like me to understand. And basically, he said, you don't open YouTube Studio. As long as your OBS is set up to broadcast on YouTube, you're already on YouTube. Well, once I closed YouTube Studio, the chat box popped up in the corner, and it said, as soon as you start streaming, the first person to log into your chat, the chat will appear. I hit start broadcast, and I have a black box. And I was like, oh shit, here we go. And then Kathy logged in. I was like, holy shit, it works. It's just small. That's why I have to keep looking. I was a split second, Kathy, away from hitting delete. And the ridiculous thing is, the print at the bottom was so itty bitty, I had to pull out a magnifying glass to read it. And that's when it said, if you delete this channel, any other channel you have, it deletes all subscribers and all videos. I exited that channel so goddamn fast, the monitor blinked. I could have wiped myself out. But and after about the fourth tutorial, I had enough. I was like, I give up. But there were only 2 more to watch. There were 6. I said, hey, I've watched 4. I'll watch the other 2. I watched number 5. And I said, I'm done. I'm done. I said, you got to be a rocket scientist, a microbiologist, and you got to have the patience of a saint. Then I went, there's only one more. I clicked on it. I will be explaining this to you in plain common terms. Really? And then he stepped you through it, one step at a time, explaining it in plain English detail. I was like, oh, okay, I'll keep listening. And then he said, now we're going to talk about the YouTube chat feature. I was like, whoa. And when he explained it, I was, it can't be that easy. I paused the video, I brought up OBS, and I had made a note. And I changed this, and I changed that, and I changed this. And then up come the blue box. I was like, oh, it says I'm going to have a chat. So I closed OBS. I reopened OBS. And the blue box was there. I closed OBS. I finished watching the video. I opened OBS, and the blue box was there. I said, tonight we're going for broke. So I did my little changes in my beginning, changed the date and added a couple of things, put a different vulture in the thumbnail, started the broadcast, and oh man, just a goddamn black box. And then in popped Kathy. I was like, oh God, I had to give myself artificial perspiration. And it worked. So now I know every time I open OBS, the blue box will be there. And then when I start, it'll go blank until the first person signs in. Now watch tomorrow night. All you guys will screw with me, and for the first 5 minutes, nobody will sign in. I'll be like, I'm screwed. I did something wrong. And you know the amazing thing is? I can roll the chat back to the beginning. That's the like if I miss something, I can roll it back and go, oh, that's what he said. I couldn't do that before with the chat. I can actually roll it back and look and see what I missed. So I don't have to keep going, what did I miss? I got the last sentence. I discovered that by accident. I had my finger on the roller on the mouse. And all of a sudden the chat moved and I went, oh, look, there's a gray bar that I can move up and down, and I can move the chat back and forth. So no more being stupid and going, what did you say, Ron? I only got the last sentence. And like I say, free. They don't have a subscription. This software is free. And I'm just in the beginning usage. Once I get more accustomed to it and start playing with the perks, like I say, I could have a split screen, 2 cameras, guests. I can be playing a video in the corner while being live, and I can swap back and forth. I can put the video up big and I can put me little in the corner. All of the stuff that this software does is amazing. But it's going to take some time to get used to it. I am happy with this right now, as if I don't learn another thing, it's doing what I want. I have a chat, and I can roll the chat backward and forward. I have to look and see if I can make it bigger. There are several buttons. I ain't pushing them right now. I could blow the chat away. And it has the same feature as yours, where I have top chat or live chat. I have mine set on live chat so that I get every person coming in as they come in. Where when you do top chat, it just puts certain. But I'm hoping that I can make it larger. That's the only drawback. Although it says I can move it. Maybe if I move it like right in front of me somehow. Right now I'm leaving it alone. Yeah, I went in and I looked at the upgrade on one stream. And it says, if you paid in one lump, it was $12.99 a month. If you paid monthly, it was $15.99 a month. But that only gave you 2 hours, max. Even if you upgraded to the $50 a month premium, 2 hours. I was like, why on God's green earth would somebody pay $50 a month and get limited to 2 hours? But reading through everything before you download said nothing about time, which is cool. Because the other night it kind of irritated me because I was in the middle of saying goodbye and all of a sudden chat ended, stream ended. I would like, Jesus. Although I did get a little warning. Stream will end in 5 minutes. Stream will end in 3 minutes. Stream will end in 1 minute. But I wasn't paying attention. Then, but I am quite happy. I really am. Because it's actually doing more than I expected. Because on Prism and one stream, the chat was the chat. You couldn't roll it back to see what you missed. This has got a roll it back feature. Yeah, now that's another thing. Prism and one stream did not have a thumbnail. So I decided, since I get a thumbnail, I'll download a bunch of vulture pictures. And I found a website that had free vulture photos. And I picked out 10 of the best that I liked. And I saved them. And every night I'll put a different frickin' vulture. I'm going to download more. I'm not going to download the vultures picking a carcass apart in the middle of Africa, but they have got, I never realized there were that many breeds of vultures. So I'm going to have a shitload of vulture pictures. Because I think it's kind of cool. When I went into my video section, there's a damn bird. But like the ones I got tonight, I like those two. They're like deer in the headlights. They're pretty. I didn't realize a vulture had that much color in it. Although it's a different breed, but I saw the ones with all the color and I was like, oh, I like them a lot better than that thing. Although I do have a couple like idiot here. Because there were pictures of them nesting. There were some pictures of in flight. So I got a shitload of pictures I can pick from. Yeah, Kathy, whoever shot the photos is a hell of a, those are a hell of a group of photographers. And they are not shooting with no goddamn cell phone camera. The cameras they're shooting with are probably $5,000 to $10,000. Christ, I remember the video camera. I had a friend who was a videographer for Channel 8. And when he retired, he sold me one of his cameras. Now, you know what them son of a bitches are. Oh, big, ungodly monstrosity. And he told me brand new, and we're talking back in the 70s. The camera that he sold me was $5,000. That's back in the 70s. I think I paid $400 for it because I was a friend and he knew I was doing freelancing. But you take that $5,000 camera today, 25, 30 grand, maybe more. That was his older one. I didn't complain. He had 3. And he said, this is the oldest one. I was like, hey, okay. And it came with the sound recorder box because he would shoot and then he had a sound man with a boom mic and that. I had all that. And then the outfits I was working for didn't want video anymore. They just wanted static pictures, stills. So I had somebody interested in the camera and I sold it. And then I bought, oh man. Matter of fact, they don't even make it anymore. I bought a Besseler Topcon SLR camera, which cost me like $1,400. You don't even hear a Topcon anymore. I don't even think they make them. I think they got bought out. Because I paid like $1,400 for the camera and then another like $1,000 for lenses and I made my money. It just got to be a kind of a pain in the ass after a while. I actually wanted to do shit that I could sell to news stations. Like go to a scene of a fire or something and get a bunch of really great pictures and, okay, 358, who wants to buy them, Or plain dealer, press. Well, the press was gone by then. But I can't complain. I made my money back. Not to mention getting in the show for free. That was the best part. Anytime there was like you had the big Cleveland Auto Show, and then at that time it was Public Hall. Ford might have a special introduction, or Chrysler, and you'd get in for free. Of course, the credentials weren't cheap. That's why I say it pisses me off. You see these idiots on YouTube, I'm an independent journalist. No, I was an independent journalist. I had certifications. I had documents. What do you got? Oh, a 12-year-old, cell phone you're shooting with. Yeah, everybody's an independent journalist today. But see, part of the problem is like if you're getting a hard time from law enforcement, they don't know if you're, well, they do because a true independent journalist is going to have credentials. Here. I'm a real independent journalist. This guy's a YouTube journalist. But that's all in the past. Like the money I lost at the Wixie School of Broadcast Technique. The fucking thieves. Oh, Grumpy could have been a DJ. I even had the perfect music because I always wanted to do what they called afternoon drive, 3 to 6 or 3 to 7, you know. Kathy, I have seen some gorgeous photos of the Smokies. That was one of the, you know, besides the Grand Canyon and Hawaii, I always wanted to take a trip out and drive through the Smokies. But I have seen some gorgeous, well, calendar photos. You know goddamn right well that those got to be dead on. You know, like a National Geographic photographer taking a picture. One of these days, like I say, had I been lucky enough to become a DJ, I wanted to do afternoon drive. And I even had the perfect intro music for a show. And the name of the song is called Scotch on the Rocks, which is perfect for an afternoon drive because people on the way home are going to stop and have one or two. I said, I didn't even have a fucking job and I had my music picked out. One of these days, I'll play it. I've got it on one of my MP3 players. It's called Scotch on the Rocks. Matter of fact, I heard from my buddy the other day. The one that actually succeeded in becoming a disc jockey. Still going strong. Still has a job. I can't remember where the hell. He's at an AM station, which, like he said, AM today, you have maybe, what, 2 listeners, you know. He's at an AM station in Montana. I can't remember where he said. And he's doing afternoon drive, which he's always done. He just likes doing the afternoon. They offered him mornings. He said, no, I'd have to get up early. I said, you know, it's nice. He made a career out of it. And like he said, I'm not planning on retiring. Because they don't really have age limits where you have to retire. And I guess the station he's at, God, he's been there like 8 or 10 years. They love him. So, but he's the only one that I know succeeded. Of course, when, he got screwed, like I did, his family had money. So he went to, what the hell was the name of it? They changed the name. Ohio School of Broadcasting. It was over on Rockside Road. He lost $1,000 and he paid Ohio School of Broadcasting $1,200 and got his certificates, and he's got a, what do you say it is? I think 32-foot motorhome. And, well, he's got an apartment now. But, like he said, he bounced all over the country. So, until he was, knew he was guaranteed a job for a year at least, he wouldn't get an apartment. He had the motor home and he towed a Jeep behind it, and he'd find recreation park. He lived out of a motor home. And then when he got comfortable in the job, he rented an apartment and put the motor home in storage. Yeah, it's like a 81 or 83. I think he said it's 32 foot on a Ford F-350 chassis. And he keeps it in tip-top shape. Even though it's that old, he said it still looks like the day he bought it. But he takes care of it. Like he said, if I see a little rust spot, in the body shop, get it fixed right away. I wouldn't have minded doing that. I could handle that if I was single. Lose your job in Idaho and New Mexico? Okay. Drive down to New Mexico. Take your home with you. I am going to have to set up a digital. I've got a little digital clock. I'm going to have to set up a digital clock because the time in the corner of my monitor is like millifraction tall. Although I could look, I got a clock on the wall. I would just like to have, because it's got a timer feature. I could click it. And it's like a stopwatch. I could say, oh, look, we're on for over an hour. And going strong with OBS. My new software. Thanks to TV2. I thought maybe he'd pop in. I wanted to thank him for suggesting this, because he said, take a look at it. You'll like it. I like it now a lot better than I liked it last night. Although the thing that really pissed me off was I couldn't get on with one stream. It like locked me out for some reason. No matter what I did, I couldn't get a live stream going. And I mean, I was on here. I was on and off, on and off. I was. If you look at the videos, I tell, stay with me. I gotta log out. I'm gonna log back in. And then I logged out, and I logged back in, and I still couldn't get a chat. And I was like, stay with me. I'm gonna try it again. So there's videos of me begging people, don't leave. I'll be back. Now, I got it. But see, the tutorials were telling me to open YouTube Studio. No. I'm already on YouTube. There's no need to open YouTube Studio, which I discovered tonight. Because when I opened YouTube Studio, it reverted to the YouTube channel I've never used. Because if you look at it, there's nothing. Well, you know, when I opened, I can't remember. I don't. I think it was the analytics page. I saw you saying hi. I can't remember what page I opened, but you were trying and I was trying. The problem is I had the wrong information. That's why tonight when I hit start broadcast and I got a blank box, just a black square, I was like, oh no, not again. And then you popped in and voila, everything came up. I was like, yeah, I was giving myself CPR. But until you popped in, Kathy, I was getting ready to shut down. I was like, no, it's doing it to me again. Because all it is a empty black square, rectangle. That's all it is. Until the first person says something in the chat, and then it pops up with the headings, live chat, top chat. And I think I could answer in the chat, but I'm not going to experiment right now. I'm pretty sure the way it's set up, I can answer in the chat. I would rather answer live. Because then I'd have to type, and I only got 2 educated fingers. But I am so happy it works finally. And like I say, the features are unbelievable for free. But like I say, YouTube's kicking in money. NVIDIA, which is, the world's largest maker of graphics cards and graphic software, they're kicking money in. Facebook's kicking money in. Twitch, that was another one. there was a whole list of sponsors. And basically, it tells you in the information that the reason it's free is because they have this big sponsorship, which makes me happy because I'm getting basically premium OBS for free. I just have to learn how to use the features. Now, I'll be able to put a video, like if I stick a GoPro in the windshield of the Passat and go driving around, I could play that video. Like I say, in the other tutorials, the shit that those people were showing that you can do with this software blew me away. I just wanted a chat. That's all I wanted. I wanted a chat. But as soon as I closed YouTube Studio, and the amazing thing was, it was a blue box that said YouTube in it. I couldn't get it to do anything. Today, as soon as I closed YouTube Studio, up came the print that said, as soon as you start streaming, your chat will start. That easy? Can't be. It was. All I had to do was go over in the box over here where it said Docs and click YouTube Chat. Add. It was that simple. But it took me 6 tutorials to find that out. But the last guy, he did explain it to a beginner. The other 5 explained it as if you had been using OBS for 6 or 7 months and you wanted to learn the premium features. No, explain it to me. I'm a dummy. I need it like with a coloring book and crayons. That's what the dummy I am. I need give me a coloring book and crayons. Oh, okay. 2026 is going to be fun with this software because I'm going to be able to do a multitude of things once I learn how. Yeah, I couldn't believe it because it went from just a black rectangle to a full chat like you see in YouTube. That's what popped up. It's like the corner of a YouTube chat. At the top, like I say, you got live chat or top chat, and I was shocked to see it. As a matter of fact, I couldn't believe. No. Yeah. And then you typed in a second comment, and it was like, it's working. I have a chat. It's working. I was in shock. But what I'm looking at is a YouTube chat box like you have on your screen. And I can scroll back and forth like you can on your. That's the good feature, because if I miss something, I can back it up and go, oh, that's what Ron said. I'm ecstatic right now. I really am. I feel like a kid on a bus who just mooned the person that drove by. Unbelievable. Well, we're at the 2-hour mark, and even though I know we could go longer, I didn't have a snack this afternoon playing with all this software, and right now my stomach feels like somebody slit my throat. So I think we're going to call it a show. We know where. Now we know where for sure, right here. All right, everybody. Thanks for putting up with me and my experiment last night. But we finally got it the way we want it. And with that, everybody have a wonderful rest of your evening. And we will meet again with chat tomorrow night. See ya.